from Kansas State University. This is Agriculture Today. Eric Atkinson with you. And ahead today, K-State's A.J. Tarpoff will talk with Sarah Moyer about redesigning outmoded cattle handling facilities, incorporating the bud box working area into that design. K-State has just come out with a new extension publication on putting this system together. Then, over from the Farm Service Agency State Office, Lance Thompson will talk about the county FSA Committee election process. Ballots have been now mailed out to you, producers. He emphasizes how important it is for you to vote. And for this week's horticulture segment, K-State's Jared Hoyle will talk about putting down that last nitrogen application of the fall on cool season lawns. All this and more coming up on Agriculture Today.
Science Communication Week is coming to Manhattan November 6th through 11th. Kansas State University, Sunset Zoo, and Flint Hills Discovery Center are bringing together local science students, professors, and professionals, as well as journalists from National Public Radio and National Geographic to share their insights and discoveries. Find out about all the free public events at k-state.edu/SciComm. That's k-state.edu/SCICOMM.
Welcome back to Agriculture Today. I'm Sarah Moyer here to talk about an exciting publication for cattle producers and those specifically wanting to update or build facilities in their operation for cattle handling. And this publication is called Designing a Bud Box for Cattle Handling. That name doesn't do justice to the variety of information that it contains, and here to help us talk about what that publication is about and how producers can use it, we have K-State Beef Extension veterinarian A.J. Tarpoff. Good to have you on, A.J.
Pleasure to be here.
This publication and overview covers a variety of topics that can help producers in planning or designing a facility or updates to a facility that's already in existence, correct?
Correct. What we really tried to do is facilities are kind of almost the heart and soul of, running cattle through, to be able to give our vaccines, to be able to handle our cattle, to be able to sort them, to be able to put them in a loadout facility, to be able to take them out to pasture or to move them to a different location. So what we really tried to do is, with the number of people trying to either rebuild, tear down, build brand new, they know that their facility is 30-plus years old. It's time to upgrade. They've spent way too much money trying to fix it over the last several years that it's time to start fresh. And a lot of those questions started coming across our table, so we kind of teamed up between animal science and ag engineering, and we really kind of combined all our thoughts on, if we needed to help somebody, how do we do it? But that's what this publication is all about. And we took a strong stance and said, you know what, this will give some tremendous value of examples of somebody that wants to start fresh and they have no idea where to start.
And some of those considerations that are included would be, of course, the type of operation, the type of cattle that they're running through. And there are different tables and different introductions for those different systems, correct?
That's correct. The one thing about a handling facility, we need versatility. Okay, and just look at our typical cow-calf operator in Kansas. We may have a 2,000-pound bull, we may have 1,400-pound cows, and we may be trying to run through a 350-weight steer. Okay, so all of the above, we need to be able to handle appropriately. So we need a functional system that is versatile enough to handle these different sized animals. And that's where we really we took a strong look at it. Okay, what's the most versatile? What's the easiest to put in? We look at all those parameters. We chose the bud box systems for the true handling facility just due to the versatility, ease of use, and ease to put up, essentially.
That type of system does capitalize on reducing animal stress. Would you explain a little bit about how those coincide?
Absolutely. So cattle, they're prey animals. They try to escape from predators. They have a natural flow to them whenever they move in groups. We actually harness that natural ability of them to move and move around a handler. That's how the bud box works. The cattle, they understand their surroundings. They hear all the different noises. What's different about a bud box is they can see their surroundings. We can move them into the box from a holding area through an alleyway. We can hold them in that box, and the handler is the pivot point. So understanding basic mechanisms of cattle handling is essential with the bud box system, but the cattle flow through systems like these, it's absolutely amazing. They walk around the handler, they're trying to get away, go back to where they came from, they go straight into the alleyway towards the chute. It's a pretty slick system, and it works with all different types and sizes of animals. And we do have dimensions on the proper size of those boxes, and the size of the boxes is totally dependent on the size of the alleyway leading up to the chute. We only want to bring enough animals in that are going to fill that alleyway, and that's one draft. That's one draft of animals coming to the chute. We let those go through, and then the next draft comes right back behind them. So, again, it's all about flow and facilitating that natural movement.
And once again, then, building off of that, the available space that an operation has for these facilities is another consideration for what type of design they may want to use or updates that a producer may make.
Space and land requirements is essential. Land's pretty expensive. We don't want to put any bigger land imprint on our handling facility than what we need. And the bud box, it takes drastically less land space, and actually, when you look at it overhead, it doesn't take that much space to be able to put in and have a well-used, versatile system, as apart from the long circular type facilities that have been used in the past. When we're talking about land space and possibly in a barn, all of those above we need to think about. The other thing to think about is cost. Okay, whenever we're building new facilities, whenever we're working with steel and metal, every time we put a curve in something, we are increasing the cost exponentially. Okay? So when we look at a bud box system, it's all straight. Okay? So we can use standard size panels. We can use standard size pieces of rail. So everything fits together much nicely, and it really helps out economically that we have a really versatile system that is usable for a number of different classes and sizes of animals. But again, it's not going to break our pocketbook whenever we go put them together.
And one key aspect of this publication, Designing a Bud Box for Cattle Handling, as you've alluded to, is all of the examples and different drafts that you've included in this for producers to think about and maybe build off of those as far as some of the designs that are going on. Will you explain how that process came about of providing these examples?
Absolutely. That's what really separates this publication out from anything else that's out in circulation right now. A lot of different groups have explained the bud box and have put that out for the public to use. Where a lot of those come up short is incorporating one portion of the handling facility into the entire working facility. Okay, when we have a working facility, we have holding pens. We may have sorting pens. We need to be able to have fence passes so our handlers and our employees can actually move through these systems without walking all the way around. Okay, so what we did is we incorporated a bud box to show its versatility in a complete system. A calving area inside of a barn, it gives basic land requirements. It may be set up in a four-way corner of a section, right in the center of 4 different pastures. We have an example of that. So we really tried to incorporate and give ideas of not just the small segment of handling up to the chute, but the full assessment of loadouts. Okay, how many times have we thought about a loadout? Do we need access to be able to have a loadout that goes up to a semi? Whether we're loading them into a cattle pot or ground loading out of a cattle trailer, what are some different options that we can use so we can increase the versatility without drastically changing our cattle facility? If we think about those things prior to, we're going to have something that is going to be really functional and very versatile for years to come.
And hopefully, as you talked about at the beginning, that some of these improvements and updates would help not only with the ease of use, but also the animal stress, and the investment is really what this is highlighting in facilities and how that can benefit an operation, correct?
Absolutely. So we talk about stress. It's not just stress on the cattle, it's stress on our handlers as well. I'm sure many of us have worked in a handling facility that probably wasn't the best handling facility. We can move cattle through there. Sometimes it's more difficult than others. Okay, we want to facilitate the movement, natural movement of the cattle. But at the end of the day, what about us? What about the employees? When cattle flow through a system that's properly designed, it's so much easier on us. How many of us have been in an argument with a coworker, a family member, something along those lines? The only reason being poor cattle movement through a facility. Okay, so it saves us a huge headache. It saves us time. Time is very valuable. And when cattle properly flow through a system like this and the ease of use, you can get so much more done in a day. It's not a hassle to run cattle through. It's not a hassle to process these animals. And then the cattle side. We talk about stress. Handling can be a stressful time for cattle. If we decrease that stress and they know that it wasn't a bad experience to go through a handling facility, they were able to flow through naturally, they get caught, they hit the chute, they get caught properly, we're able to administer vaccines, we're able to administer any of our animal health products. Guess what? When we need to rerun those animals at a heavier weight, they run right through, and it's not a big deal. Cattle do remember that, by the way. And I'm sure many of you have cattle on operations that absolutely will not go into a facility due to a poor experience. So designing them properly from the get-go can be extremely beneficial for the flow for years to come on any type of operation, whether we're talking about a cow-calf operator, whether we're talking about a stock or backgrounder, or a feedlot operator.
So hopefully folks are interested in knowing where to find this publication. How would you direct them to it?
Currently, the publication is found on the Kansas State Research and Extension bookstore. The publication number that you can search online is MF3349. Okay, it's under the livestock segment of our bookstore for KSRE, and it can be searched for designing a bud box for cattle handling. I'm very excited, and the team that put this publication together is very excited about getting this into the hands of producers to really help some people.
Well, thank you for coming on, AJ, and telling us more about this publication.
You're welcome.
Once again, that was K-State Extension Beef Veterinarian AJ Tarpoff talking about the Designing a Bud Box for Cattle Handling publication, a new publication through K-State Research and Extension, a partnership between animal science and agriculture engineering. Once again, that publication number to be searching is MF3349, and that can be found on the K-State bookstore at bookstore.ksre.ksu.edu. I'm Sarah Moyer with Agriculture Today. Stay right here on the K-State Radio Network.
Legal and financial concerns surround the day-to-day management of the agricultural industry. Producers, ag creditors, and USDA agencies rely on Kansas Agricultural Mediation Services. If you've received an adverse decision from the USDA or have an ag credit concern, call today 800-321-3276 or visit us online. Kansas Agricultural Mediation Services, exploring options, generating solutions. Agriculture Today continues now here on the K-State Radio Network. We're coming up to a very important occasion for the implementation of federal farm programs locally, for there is a body that oversees the administration of those in each county in Kansas, the County Farm Service Agency Committee. And those committees will be going through the election process here very soon. We're going to remind you of what all that entails and how important it is for you as producers to take part in this election via your vote. Joining us now is the newly named executive officer with the State Farm Service Agency headquarters here in Kansas. We welcome for the first time Lance Thompson. By the way, congratulations on this new appointment, Lance.
Thank you, sir. Glad to be here.
Just to let folks know a bit about you, you have spent quite some time in the FSA, previously in Shawnee County, you say.
Yes, I was the county executive director in Topeka, Kansas for the last 12 years and officially started this position on October 1st.
And right out the chute, you are dealing with the county committee election process. And we need to stress this multiple times. The function of this committee is instrumental to the administration of USDA programs locally, right?
Yes, sir. The members apply their judgment, experience, and knowledge when making local decisions that help deliver many FSA programs and services, such as producer appeals, commodity price support programs, conservation programs. They also employ the county executive directors in each county. They also assist with disaster programs, and they also help share information about FSA opportunities within their communities.
And some of that is routine business, some of it not so routine, depending on the situation, right?
That is correct. That is correct. Members are local agricultural producers responsible for the fair and equitable administration of FSA farm programs in their county or multiple county jurisdiction. They are under the general supervision of the state committee here located in Manhattan and are the eyes and the ears of the producers that elected them. Committees represent the priorities and the voice of the producers in the community, and they ensure USDA's farm programs continue to serve farmers, ranchers, and families.
Just to give an idea of the scope, there are, you say, well over 7,000 producers serving in this capacity nationwide?
Yeah, there's nearly 7,700 producers that serve on more than 2,200 FSA county committees nationwide, so it's a very strong network of producers out there that serve this agency. So.
And, Lance, because of the importance of all of those functions you just mentioned that are served by the committee, producer participation in this election, you can't stress that enough. That's essential, you say.
Yeah, it is critical that every eligible producer participate in these elections. As Farm Service Agency county committees are an important link between the agricultural community and the U.S. Department of Agriculture. The election of responsible agricultural producers to Farm Service Agency county committees is important to all farmers and ranchers with large or small operations.
Let's talk procedure here then, if we might, to go through the details of the vote and the eligibility. First of all, there's not a full turnover of each committee every year, correct?
That's correct. Roughly about a third of county committee seats are up for election this year and every year after that.
And how the balloting is handled here, it's convenient for the producer. It's actually delivered to them, correct?
Yes. Ballots actually have been mailed on this Monday, November 6th, to eligible voters. Eligible voters who do not receive those ballots can request them from their local USDA service center. If you haven't gotten a ballot in the last couple of days, it might be very important to go check with your local FSA office.
Yeah. Obviously, because the ballots have been delivered, the nomination process is concluded. The names are on the ballot now.
The names are on the ballot, yes.
At this point, it might be well to clarify exactly whom is eligible to vote in the county committee elections.
Okay. Producers must participate or cooperate in a Farm Service Agency program to be eligible to vote in the county committee election. Farmers and ranchers who supervise and conduct the farming operations of an entire farm but are not of legal voting age also may be eligible to vote. Producers of legal voting age and that have an interest in a farm, either as an individual or a partner of a general partnership, a member of a joint venture, or as a non-individual who is authorized to represent a legal entity, such as a corporation, estate, trust, limited partnership, or other business enterprise, are also people that are eligible to vote in this election.
So bona fide producers encompasses quite a few folks out there. Be sure that you take the opportunity, if you fall into those categories, to vote. So the ballots are out, and producers have until when to return those with their vote?
Okay. Producers have until December 4th, 2017. That's the last day for voters to submit ballots in person to their local USDA service centers or have ballots postmarked to that returned date at the office.
So they have actually a little less than a month to take care of this business. It's easy to set that ballot aside when you get it in the mail. Maybe it gets stuck in that stack on the kitchen counter, but you would ask producers to make a concerted, thoughtful vote and get that back in as soon as possible. Then.
Yeah, we want to try to get those ballots as quickly back by December 4th because each county committee has until a certain time period shortly after that December 4th date to count those ballots. And it's a really quick turnaround. By the time they count those ballots, these new members that are voted in these local communities, they come on January 1st, 2018. That's their first service date. So even though we've got a month period here between this last Monday, November 6th, and December 4th, time flies, and it's gonna get here, and these people are going to get elected, and they're going to be put on pretty quickly. So
they'll be open for business come January the 1st, 2018. The new members that make up that committee, 3 committee members total, and there'll be 1 new member per committee turned over each year. So that's what you're voting on, producers. And if you have, as a producer, questions about the process, if for some reason somebody hasn't received a ballot yet, they can contact their local FSA personnel about that, can they not, Lance?
Yes, they can. We also advise producers to check out the website at www.fsa.usda.gov/elections, and then also contacting that local USDA Service Center or FSA office. And those offices can also be viewed online at offices.usda.gov.
Very good. We're beating the drum on this, but we'll do it one more time in closing. It is vital that producers make their say on the makeup of that county FSA committee. It is critical to USDA program implementation really across the board, Lance.
Yep. Voting in these elections is a service to the community. Since we rely on people with diverse perspectives and local expertise on issues such as crops, weather conditions, and yields, by voting, you represent your local county, you support your local candidates, and make your voice heard.
They take care of those producer appeals, conservation program implementation, disaster program response. That goes through the local committee, commodity price support decisions, as those may flex during the course of a given year. All of that handled by that county FSA committee. The elections are open now via mail ballot. Please return those no later than December the 4th to get your vote in on that particular committee. And Lance, we appreciate the update on an important matter for all producers out there. Thank you for coming over.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
He's the new executive officer of the Farm Service Agency State Office in Kansas, and part of his duties to oversee the administration of the 2017 County FSA Committee Elections around the state. Lance Thompson, his name. As he says, one good place to get further information on this process is your local FSA counter. While we've a moment here, on a related note, now that the USDA's commodity program payments for 2016 crop production have been issued to you producers, the attention can now turn to the payments expected roughly a year from now on this year's production 2017 crop. On the Ag Manager website out of K-State Agricultural Economics, Risk Management Specialist Art Barnaby has posted the first estimated marketing year average prices for spring crops, feed grains, and soybeans. These prices will be used to determine the agricultural risk coverage and price loss coverage payments on 17 production. And you can read up about all of that on the website. Through his calculations, Art has posted his forecasted PLC payment for 2017 wheat at 83 cents per bushel. Conversely, Art says the uncertainties about the price estimates for corn, sorghum, and soybeans are currently too significant for one to estimate the PLC payment on those crops, but Art has put forth his first estimated prices for calculating those payments for corn, sorghum, soybeans in this article. He notes as well that K-State will not be forecasting any ARC payments until after the National Agricultural Statistics Service releases their county yield numbers. Again, you can see Art Barnaby's first take on possible USDA crop program payments for 2017 production at agmanager.info. You're listening to Agriculture Today, and after this break, we'll return with today's agricultural news headlines. This week's edition of the Kansas Soybean Update also coming your way with Greg Akagi, and our K-State Horticulture segment is yet to come. All still ahead here on the K-State Radio Network.
Did you know every Kansas farmer feeds 128 plus people?
Kansas farmers are hard workers, dependable, authentic, and sensitive.
Not only do farmers put food on your table, but they put clothes on your back and fuel in your car.
For more information about Kansas farmers, visit K-State Research and Extension online or stop by your local extension office. This message has been brought to you by the K-State Animal Sciences Leadership Academy participants.
Broadcasting from the campus of Kansas State University, this is Agriculture Today. Eric Atkinson here. Again, thanks for joining us as we move on now to today's agricultural news headlines in brief for you, courtesy in part of DTN. You corn and soybean farmers generally saw no benefit this fall from adding the harvest price option to your crop insurance plan. That was not enough to stop a pair of senators and a congressman from introducing legislation that would end the taxpayer premium subsidy on the harvest price option for crop insurance. Senators Jeff Flake of Arizona and Jeannie Shaheen of New Hampshire introduced a bill they called the Harvest Price Subsidy Prohibition Act. It's the second piece of legislation the pair have introduced this fall to target crop insurance. The senators stated that eliminating the taxpayer premium subsidy for the harvest price option would save $21 billion over 10 years, according to the Congressional Budget Office. The harvest price option gives producers the chance to benefit from a price floor for their crops during the price discovery month of February for corn and soybeans and October, when prices may move higher. That was not the case here in 2017, as the spring guarantee for corn was $3.96, but the CME December corn contract at the end of October was $3.49. Likewise, the spring price for soybeans was $10.19, but the CME November price for beans at the end of October was $9.75. The harvest price option did work to the benefit of producers last year when fall prices for corn and beans were higher than the spring prices. The senators introduced the bill yesterday to eliminate the harvest price option for crop insurance with a companion bill introduced in the House by John Duncan of Tennessee. Flake and Shaheen stated that the cost to taxpayers of offering the harvest price option has escalated over time. The Congressional Budget Office had forecast that taxpayers would pay $9 billion over 10 years back in 2013 when Flake first championed a similar bill. The senators now note the cost is scored at $21 billion over 10 years. Further, Flake and Shaheen introduced legislation targeting crop insurance profits. It was scored at cutting taxpayer costs for crop insurance by $3.9 billion over 10 years. That bill would lower the rate of return for crop insurance companies from 14.5% down to just shy of 9%. Flake and Shaheen proposed identical changes to the crop insurance program back in 2015. Neither senator is a member of the Senate Agriculture Committee. And the concern continues to run high within U.S. agriculture over the possibility that the U.S. will either exit NAFTA or that the NAFTA 2.0 talks will end up negatively impacting the sector. Those concerns have prompted a major push in Washington by agricultural interests to emphasize to lawmakers and to the Trump administration how important NAFTA is to the sector. Canada and Mexico representing some of the top destinations for U.S. agricultural exports. While indicating a contingency plan would not be needed, USDA Secretary Sonny Perdue told reporters yesterday that he was working on such a plan. He said they're talking with the administration and Congress about some mitigation efforts if that were to occur, about how we could protect our producers with that farm safety net based on prices that may respond negatively to any kind of NAFTA withdrawal, in Perdue's words. Pulling out of the trade deal could have some tragic consequences for U.S. agriculture, he says, but he noted producers and the sector can adapt to changes in the market. Perdue says he still expected the NAFTA 2.0 talks will come to a successful conclusion, but he acknowledged that there may be, in his words again, some nervous bumps along the way in the meantime. And on Tuesday, JD.com, China's largest retailer, participated in a signing ceremony held at the Great Hall of the People, with that company entering agreements to purchase in excess of $1.2 billion of beef from the Montana Stock Growers Association and pork from Smithfield Foods over the next 3 years. U.S. Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross and Chinese Vice Premier Wang Yang were in attendance to witness that signing. JD will import Montana-sourced beef from Cross 4 Ranch and the Stock Growers Association in that state, members to China for direct sales to the 258 million Chinese consumers on its e-commerce platform. The procurement agreement is for an initial 3 years with a minimum commitment of $200 million in beef to be imported. On we go now to this week's Kansas soybean update for you. Here's Greg Akagi.
Ryan Spear, a producer from Sedgwick, Kansas, serves as president of No-Till on the Plains. Ryan, the 22nd annual No-Till on the Plains Winter Conference is coming up January 30th and 31st, and in a brand new location down in Wichita.
Yeah, we've moved it to Wichita, try to give a more intimate feel where the speakers and attendees can have more interaction during the meeting and after. So we're excited about the move to Wichita.
It will take place at the Hyatt Regency Hotel and Century 2 Convention Center, and you've got quite the lineup of speakers that will be coming in.
Yeah, we have well over 20 speakers with lots of different tracks or topics. You know, the focus is holistic management, but there'll be lots of different topics from crop rotation to weed control, cover crops, grazing. There's a little bit of everything. And we also have a beginner session the day before the main conference, and the advanced session, which is the AIM Symposium, which would be on that Thursday.
So this is really for everybody, regardless of how much you've been into no-till practices or holistic practices. You have something for everyone.
We've really got programs put together for the guy that's never done it or the guy that's been doing it for 20 years. We try to service everyone's needs.
And Ryan, you've got a very dynamic speaker coming in to give the keynote address.
Yeah, Alan Savory from the Savory Institute will be our keynote speaker, and he will be talking on holistic management for managing the complexity of an agriculture operation. So he's got tons of experience all across the world, and he's going to be able to give us some new ideas on holistic management.
Ryan, with the new location this year, will there be any other changes to the conference?
Yes, we won't have the traditional vendor trade show, but we will also have sponsors there that you'll be able to talk to. Some of the sponsors are Noble Research Institute, CACO, Food and Ag, Green Cover Seed, and Farmers Business Network. Additional sponsors, Teams Ranch, Exapta Solutions, and Shelburne Reynolds. All that information can be found at notel.org, as well as all the speaker information, bios, and schedule for all the programs.
And they can register online as well?
Yes, all the registration's done online, and discount schedules and combo packages and all that is on the website at notel.org.
Ryan, I appreciate you joining us. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem.
Ryan Spear, a producer from Sedgwick, Kansas, as he serves as president of No-Till on the Plains. Here on the Kansas Soybean Update, it's brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission.
Greg Akagi with the update. As always, many thanks, Greg. We'll return shortly. You're listening to Agriculture Today. For 25 years, K-State Research and Extension's Kansas Agricultural Mediation Services has been providing a no-cost, confidential place to call in and visit with an agricultural lawyer. Our experts are available to help you producers handle legal and financial issues. Explore your options and generate solutions. Call us at 800-321-3276 or visit us online. Kansas Agricultural Mediation Services. This Agriculture Today concludes with our weekly horticulture segment, and we're not quite done with late-season lawn management, but getting very close. Jared Hoyle has joined us once more, Research and Extension turfgrass specialist at K-State, with a few things for you homeowners to keep in mind as per your lawn care at this juncture. Including those with cool season lawns, this would be the time over these next couple of weeks to apply that last nitrogen treatment of the season, you say, Jared.
That is correct. Cool season lawns, tall fescue, Kentucky bluegrass, really like the fall fertility schedule. It really helps them beef them up for winter, keep the winter color, and then they're available to come out in the springtime ready to rock and roll. If you've gone out and you've got your first couple applications out, we say for tall fescue, looking at 3 pounds of actual nitrogen per 1,000 square feet for the entire fall season. But this last application around November timeframe where we're at really gets into the plant, greens the plant up, and helps it for winter. And so we're looking at putting that last maybe 1 pound on. If you've put 1 pound on already before, this would be a total of 2 pounds, which will be good, of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet.
Need one be selective about the kind of product they put down, though?
That is correct. Right now, you want to make sure it is a quick release instead of a slow release. You don't want it releasing through the wintertime when it's not taken up. So a quick release source would be best. It'll say right there on the label that it's 95% quick release. Right there, and it'll tell you exactly how much it is in that bag.
But the idea here is to, when you go back over your fall applications and account for everything, 3 pounds of N on that lawn total.
Total, yes. Total for the whole fall season. So if you've done 1.5 earlier, you could go 1.5. I would stick to around 1 just because we don't know if Mother Nature is going to get really cold real soon. So you want to make sure you don't put too much on there and the rest of it leaches out or is not used by the lawn. You want to save money and save your resources at the same time.
And, Jared, how late can one go for this final application?
We are getting about to the end. So in the next week or two, depending on the weather, the 10-day forecast here in Manhattan does have some colder days, but the night temperatures are staying warmer generally. So I think in the next week or two would be absolutely best.
So get after it on one or the other of these next 2 weekends, if nothing else. Now, there are folks, Jared, that do have leaves yet out there on their lawns, and you've been a strong advocate for utilizing that organic material for the benefit of the lawn, and you would still endorse that.
Yes, that's correct. There's been some studies out there where they looked at putting different amounts of leaves and just mulching it in with the lawn, and where it doesn't have any negative impacts with the lawn, and it's recycling organic matter that is out there. So if you don't have a whole bunch of it, you can go out with a mulching blade on the mower and chop it up and just kind of mix it in with that turf canopy. Others, I have to remove the leaves from the lawn, whether that be raking or sucking them up with the mower. If you're raking it, that's fine. You can use that mulch in wintertime cover for your gardens or disposing of them appropriately. But if you are using a lawnmower, remember that you are cutting the turf as well. And so you're removing that free nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. So that's when it gets really key to make sure that you have that fall fertility application down too. Because if you do remove clippings, studying has shown throughout the year that you would have to apply 25% more nitrogen fertilizer to have the same response. So don't worry too much about the leaves other than just trying to maybe mulch them up, remove them as you can. And if it's not a bulky amount, then you can just mulch them right into your lawn.
Now, we are getting late in the year, but this is a great time to get on top of one particular weed issue we find in lawns, you say, knotweed. Identify that pest for those who might not be sure what we're talking about here.
Knotweed is an annual broadleaf weed. It typically grows in compacted soils, flooded areas, low bottoms. When it germinates typically February, March timeframe. And so it germinates in the spring, and then we put our common pre-emerge herbicides out, and it doesn't take care of it because it's already germinated since it's way earlier than your crabgrass that we usually shoot for our pre-emerge. Knotweed can be controlled with the pre-emerge, but that's when we have to get it on here soon. There's a lot of products labeled for it: Barricade, Surfland, Dimension, pendimethalin, and Gallery are good products that are all labeled for knotweed control. But this will also not only control knotweed that germinates in the spring, but if you get it down, it's going to also control any of your other winter annual weeds like chickweed, those types of weeds that you'll see in the wintertime as well.
So those applications will remain stable through the winter and provide the level of control that one really needs?
Yes, for knotweed, it will. As always, there could be escapes here and there, but as Benjamin Franklin said, and I like to preach it, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Putting the pre on for your knotweed control this fall, if you have an issue with it, you don't maybe not have to do the entire lawn, but the areas that you've seen it in the past, just next to driveways, sidewalks, high traffic areas, maybe a way to kind of precision agriculture your lawn instead of just broadcasting it all the way out. If you don't get it out, all those broadleaf herbicides can be used in the spring. If you are going to use that in the springtime, because you didn't get a pre-out for knotweed, do it as early as possible. The younger knotweed plants are easier to kill than the older ones are. But also, if you are going to be seeding, remember that a pre-emerge in the fall may have some residual for seeding in the spring, And if you do a broadleaf application, most of them will take about a month or two before the reseeding interval is safe for you to seed in the spring as well.
Now, is there a weed and feed option for this purpose?
There are weed and feed options that you could use. You just have to make sure that it is the pre-emerge products of Barricade, Surfland, Dimension, Pendimethalin. Gallery is a standalone product, so you could go out and put your nitrogen application out with this pre-out, just as long as it's at the rate that's needed to prevent the knotweed.
Very good. But one needs to get on this fairly soon before we really hit that steady stretch of cold weather that'll stick around a while, correct?
That is correct. And if you don't get the fertilizer out this year due to time, just know that you might need to do a spring application. So don't worry too much about it if you don't get it, but it will help it out through the winter and during the springtime.
All right. Well, there are an assortment of things that you homeowners can take on as per your late season lawn care. We appreciate the word. As always, Jared, many thanks.
Thank you.
Turfgrass specialist with K-State Research and Extension. That's Jared Hoyle. He's been our guest on this week's horticulture segment. And with that, our Thursday edition comes to a close. Thanks for tuning in. And for Sarah Moyer, Eric Atkinson here, bidding you a good day for Agriculture Today. This is the K-State Radio Network.